Hi, this is Ridea Keeping It Real, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. We are reading through the book of the Good News Bible, and we're on Daniel chapter 6. Daniel in the pit of the lions. I'm going to read from Haley's Bible Handbook first about Daniel chapter 6, and then we'll read what's in the Good News Bible about Daniel chapter 6. So, Daniel chapter 6. Daniel in the lion's den. So now Daniel has been a high officer of the Babylonian Empire throughout its whole 70 years. And though now a very old man, probably over 90 years old, Darius the conqueror of Babylon immediately placed Daniel in charge of the Babylonian government. This probably was because Daniel had just foretold the victory of the Medes in Daniel 5:28. What compliment to his wisdom, integrity, and fairness. Yet he was unswerving in his personal devotion to his own God. What faith, and what courage, and what a dowdy old man. Okay. The miracles of this book. Wonderful things are told in this book. For those who find it difficult to believe these things, we say, let us remember that for 1,000 years, God had been nurturing the Hebrew nation for the purpose of, through that nation, establishing in a world of idol-worshiping nations the idea that God is God. Now, God's nation had been destroyed by a nation that worship idols, which is where we are right now. That was plain evidence to all the world that the gods of Babylon were more powerful than the God of the Jews. It was a crisis in God's struggle with idolatry. If ever there was a time when God needed to do something to show who is God, it was during the Babylonian captivity. Strange indeed would it have been had nothing unusual happened. Something would have been lacking in the biblical story had not these stupendous miracles been wrought. Hard as it seems to believe them, it would be harder to believe the rest of the story within them. You know what? As I'm reading this right now, this very second as I'm reading this, all I am thinking about right now is that there may come a time when we cannot read the Word, the Bible. These books are going to be gone. You know, this book that I'm reading is, look at it. It's a mess. It's old. It's tattered. It's like I don't even know if I can find it now in this form. Yeah. Okay, back to this. Where was I? Oh, sometimes something would have been lacking in the biblical story had not these stupendous miracles been wrought. Hard as it seems to believe them, it would be harder to believe the rest of the story without them. At least the Jews, who had from the beginning been always falling into idolatry, were now at last in the Babylonian captivity convinced that their own God was the true God, and they have never since relapsed into idolatry. No doubt these miracles has something to do with convincing them. These miracles had a powerful influence on both Nebuchadnezzar and Darius. 329, 629. Yeah, that's all you have to say about chapter 6. Let's go ahead and read it from chapter 6 from the Good News Bible. Hold on 1 minute. I mean, you gotta read while I'm doing something, but 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So, Daniel in the pit of the lions. Darius decided to appoint 120 governors to hold office throughout his empire. In addition, he chose Daniel and two others to supervise the governors and to look after the king's interest. Daniel soon showed that he could do better work than the other supervisors or the governors. Because he was so outstanding, the king considered putting him in charge of the whole empire. What? Then the other supervisors and the governors tried to find something wrong with the way Daniel administered the empire, but they couldn't. But because Daniel was reliable and did not do anything wrong or dishonest, they said to each other, "We're going to find anything of which to accuse Daniel unless it is something." Wait a minute. "We are not going to find anything of which to accuse Daniel unless it is something in connection with his religion." So they went to see the king and said, "King Darius, may your majesty live forever. All of us who administer your empire, supervisors, the governors, the lieutenant governors, and other officials, have agreed that your majesty should issue an order and enforce it strictly. Give orders that for 30 days no one be permitted to request anything from any god or from any man 30 days, except from your majesty. Anyone who violates this order is to be thrown into the pit filled with lions. So let your majesty issue this order and sign it, and it will be enforced. A law of the Medes and Persians which cannot be changed." And so King Darius signed the order. When Daniel learned that the order had been signed, he went home. In the upstairs room of his house, there were windows that faced towards Jerusalem. There, just as he had done, always done, he knelt down at the open windows and prayed to God 3 times a day. I wonder why he knelt by the windows to do that. So people could see him do it? But he'd always done that. That's interesting. When Daniel's enemies observed him praying to God, all of them went together to the king to accuse Daniel. They said, "Your Majesty, you signed an order that for the next 30 days, anyone who requested anything from any god or from any man except you would be thrown into the pit filled with lions." The king replied, "Yes, that is the strict order of the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be changed." Then they said to the king, "Daniel, one of your exiles from Judah, does not respect your majesty or obey the order you issued. He prays regularly 3 times a day." When the king heard this, he was upset and did his best to find some way to rescue Daniel. He kept trying until sunset. Then the men came back to the king and said to him, "Your majesty knows that according to the laws of the Medes and the Persians, no order which the king has issued can be changed." Wow. So the king gave orders for Daniel to be taken and thrown into the pit filled with lions. He said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve, so loyally rescue you." A stone was put over the mouth of the pit, and the king placed his own royal seal and the seal of the nobleman on the stone, so that no one could rescue Daniel. Then the king returned to the palace and spent a sleepless night without food or any form of entertainment. At dawn, the king got up and hurried to the pit. When he got there, he called out anxiously, "Daniel, servant of the living God." Wow, servant of the living God. Was the God you serve so loyally able to save you from the lions? Daniel answered, "May your majesty live forever. God sent his angels to shut the mouths of the lions so that they would not hurt me. He did this because he knew that I was innocent and because I had not wronged you, your majesty." The king was overjoyed and gave orders for Daniel to be pulled up out of the pit. So they pulled him up and saw that he had not been hurt at all, for he trusted God. Then the king gave orders to arrest all the men who had accused Daniel, and he had them thrown together with their wives and children into the pit filled with lions. Whew. Before they even reached the bottom of the pit, the lions pounced on them and broke all their bones. Then King Darius wrote to the people of all nations, races, languages of the earth. Wow, did he own the whole world? What's going on? Then King Darius wrote to the people of all nations, races, and languages on earth. What? Something right there. Greetings. I command that throughout my entire empire, everyone should fear and respect Daniel's God. Wow, he is a living God, and he will rule forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed, and his power will never come to an end. He saves and rescues. He performs wonders and miracles in heaven and on earth. He saved Daniel from being killed by lions. Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So I guess my first question here too is, this is something to maybe research and study, is why is Daniel praying in front of the window? Like, what's the purpose of that? Literally, he's right in front of the window so people can see him. And it wasn't like he was doing that day. They said he did that all the time. Why was that? Where do you pray? Where do I pray? I pray in my bed when I'm laying there. I pray in the shower. I pray all day. I do. I pray when I'm walking. It's like for real, because you know that God is everywhere. He's with you all the time. All the time. So why aren't you just talking to God? But that's all that is to me. Half the time it's just I'm grateful. Just grateful. I'm still alive. I'm just grateful I'm still alive. That's the start of it. I am still alive. Grateful for that. Look at these people stare. Look at these little tiny people right here. These little tiny people, looking at Daniel. Like, what's he going to do? He's going to pray. I know he's going to pray. And it's always going to be people looking for your downfall. And when I think about those people, I think, you got so much energy. And I just remember those people when I was working for companies or organizations where they're jealous. They don't have what you got. They don't have the creativity. They don't have the skills, the talents. They may have their own, but they don't got what you have. And they don't want you to have it. Or they want to put you down. Or they don't want to see you rise. Or they don't want you to get a better job than them or get the promotion or whatever it was. I used to sit there and think, and even other people in your personal life, I would think, do you not have anything else to do than that? I kind of think that about like social media. Like I'm certainly not a Facebook person. I have a Facebook account mostly for my business, but I don't even update that a lot because it reminds me of high school. That's what that reminds me of. But here's Daniel praying 3 times a day at the window. Right? And this is Daniel in the lion's den. Well, we know he has purple. He has God's colors. We know that because he said that. Maybe not now. He's an old man, a 90-year-old man. Just imagine that. You're 90 years old. You get thrown into the lion's den with a bunch of lions who don't do anything because God, the angel, comes and shuts their mouth. The angel comes and shuts their mouth. He saw the angel come and shut their mouth. Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. I mean, and Haley's Bible Handbook was saying, these type of miracles happen so that people could believe. And what did he say? People could believe in the idea that God is God. Show who God is. I think we're going to see some of those type of miracles now at this time. Everybody's all upset and about the big beautiful bill that just passed. And oh my God! I mean, and me, I'm watching it too because I'm a health insurance agent, and it impacts me positively and negatively. And as I've been watching it, it was like, oh my God, what is it going to do? What is happening? And I'm still in the back of my mind thinking God is in control. God is in control. God is sending the messages. But these things are not like this, right? This is not like this. There's no doubt God did this. I think God's going to do that. God's going to do things like this for his people, for his chosen people, who have figured out who they are, figured out who they are. They're no longer blinded by the idols of this world. By, oh, I need a job, I need money. It's going to be better than a job and money. It's going to be better than all that. It ain't even going to be that little what we had to do to make it, survive. We just sitting back watching other people go through what we've gone through. That's what that big beautiful bill is. It's going to impact some people. It's going to impact a lot of people. But God is going to do things like this. Things that is like, whoa, what? And God's going to, sorry, I can't get this camera right because when I'm drawing, I can't draw like that. But God is going to, when he does some things he's getting ready to do, it's not going to be any doubt he's doing it for his people and who his people are. And it's miraculous things like this. Miraculous things like this. And it's like, I don't know whoever watches this, and sometimes I think maybe my grandchildren, they're still a YouTube. I'm long and gone, and wherever you go after you die, wherever I end up, I'm hoping I end up, one, not having to return here in any other form. Please. I mean, let me figure it out before that time happens. Please. Please, please, please. Let me figure it out. What is this with this lion right here? Look at these lions. He knew that I was innocent. Well, that tells you something too. These miracles that God is doing is for his people who are honoring and worshiping him. You know. So that's Daniel chapter 6. Daniel in the pit of the lions. So until next time, let's try to keep it real.